Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning in this week. And got a pretty good segment today. We're going to be talking about the miracle of releasing judgment, or even we could consider it resentment. So I'm going to be pulling up a PowerPoint here and going over that subject. I think you guys will really enjoy. And let's talk a little bit about this subject. So I'm going to pull this up. Just bear with me 1 second, getting this all set up here. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, all right, so the miracle of releasing judgment. Before we talk about this, is all actually, some of it, not all of it, is inspired by the book, The Dynamic Laws of Healing by Catherine Ponder. And basically in this book, we're going to be talking about her law of release. So let's go ahead and just kind of start getting into it. But next slide. All right. So the law of release. So when your prayers have not, and I just thought this was a really profound thing. So it really kind of going into this and saying, when your prayers have not been answered, though you have consciously sought that answer through spiritual methods, meaning you've put in prayer, you've done the inner work, you're just trying to figure out what's going on, you keep on working, you've done your vision boards, you've done all this other kind of stuff, but nothing seems to be happening. It is that usually an indication that you need to practice release of some person or situation, release of some financial or health problem. As you do, you open the way for your problems to be resolved. And this goes back to the old idea of, you got all your energy focused over here on this idea that you think you need, or that you think that is going to make you happy, and you're unwilling to make any type of change. And so it's one of those things where you have to release it. And so you can put it in, and that's what the Christians say. They say, put it in God's hands so that God can take care of it. Or you could say, put it in the universe's hands. And what that's all about is releasing this so that you put it in a higher power that you are, yes, a part of, except that you're saying that your ego mind, your human mind, is not trying to figure it out or push it or make it happen or force it to happen. Because when you're working in the flow of the universe, you want the universe to bring it to you. You want spirit to bring it to you. You want that idea of love or compassion, or to come at the highest and best good, your divine timing and divine order, so to speak. And so we'll just kind of move on. But the next part of this is saying that release and allow what's next. So once you release, you're saying, one of my favorite sayings is that when you see something that you really, really want, let's say it's a new car or a new home or a new job, or you want to be able to travel, or you want to be able to go someplace, whatever it is, I always say this, that or better. And so, or if it's the relationship you want, you say that or better. What you're doing is you're saying to the universe with all of your heart and all of your essence, you're saying, yeah, that's what I want, that or better. And you're saying that I want to be in alignment with my soul. In other words, I want my soul's highest good. Not necessarily what my ego is saying I want, because if I go with what my ego is saying I want, then I can get stuck and pull in something that's not going to make me the happiest. And I know we've all been there before, where we've worked hard towards something, we've gotten there, and you're like, oh, that didn't really like that at all. It's something that, or there's still something wrong with it, and you're happy for a little while, but you're still not fully there and happy. So that's because you're not in alignment with your soul, and that's the interesting part of it. So and this is what this is saying, is that one never loses anything worth having through release. Release is a magnetic that draws to you your own, meaning if it's meant to be with you, if it's meant to be a part of your life, you can't lose it. Even if you release it, it's going to come back. And that's why I always like the old saying that says, that of what is of my divine plan, bring it back to me. Of what is not of my divine plan, I let it go. And, And I release even what is of my divine plan, because it's going to come back as well. Because we have what are called attachments or strings, or some people say cords or whatever, that attach you to all the connections you have. And you want to pull those cords anyways every day. You want to sit there and say, I release myself of everyone and everything. Why? Because you want to have your soul and your essence to have a moment of peace. And that's why you say, and I call back in whatever is of my divine plan. So whatever is my divine lessons, whatever I need to face, all that kind of stuff, I call that back in, but I release whatever is not of my divine plan. So going on, what we're talking about, because this is about the miracle of releasing judgments, and and resentment and anger is a part of that. And so I thought this was a very interesting definition. It says resentment is a process where we repeatedly replay feelings of hurt and the events that led up to it. However, when we go through the event in our mind, because that's what happens when we resent, we keep on replaying this in our mind over and over and over and over and over again. We don't just think of the facts, we relive all the feelings associated with it. So this could be going on for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5, 10, 15, 16, 30 years, a lifetime. We don't just think of the facts, we relive those feelings every time we think about that resentment and pull it up over and over and over again. And then it affects us repeatedly, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And then what ends up happening? It starts to literally get deeper and dig deeper and fester and grow stronger in our body. And so what ends up happening? That resentment starts becoming a frequency within our body. And so when it becomes a frequency within our body, guess what's happening? It starts, because remember, Socrates said, likes attract like. So if you're full of resentment and anger from different situations in your life, it's going to attract more situations of resentment and anger. And literally this pattern is going to repeat itself over and over and over and over and over and over again. So resentment in those patterns can come from past lives or our current life. But I'm going to stick within the current life, because these are just some situations. This is by no means some professional timeline. It's just something that came to me as I was putting together. And I'm just kind of looking at it as saying early childhood parents said something hurtful or lost their temper. That happens, right? I'm not a parent, but there, for my friends and loved ones that are out there that are parents, you have a hard job, but many blessings to you. But parents make mistakes. They're human beings. And so the child internalizes that, potentially. And so they take that as a rejection, or that they did something wrong or whatever. You guys can relate to this. You guys were children at one time. And so then we go into our teenage years, and potentially the crush we had rejects us or hurts us or breaks our heart or whatever, and we feel rejected. And so, or we feel not loved. We don't feel good enough. And then we start to build these programs within ourselves. And then that resentment builds and builds in our mind. So younger adult, failed relationships, failed career, hard breakups with a significant other. Maybe you worked really hard on a relationship, or you went to college and you lost your first job, or things were going well and the company shut down, and you lost your job as a result of that. And you feel betrayed, all that other kind of stuff. You get cheated on with your significant other, and you feel like you've been lied to, and you feel stupid, you feel dumb, and all this stuff starts to build within the body, and it starts to become a frequency that we emanate, and then remember, whatever we put out there comes back tenfold. And this is not something that we're supposed to feel guilty about. This is something we're just doing this for an understanding, so that we know how it builds, so that we can change it. It's because self-awareness is one of the key things. And so then we're repeating up patterns from early years, and resentment still festering. So remember, it festers, and then it continues over and over and over and over again. So later in life, resentment is still there, and the emotions are still there, being relived over and over again, and therefore the energy of hurt is still in the body. So what can that do? That can physically affect us. The story of I just cannot think of her name right now, that wrote You Can Heal Your Life, and I have that book here. Louise Hay, sorry. Louise Hay, where she had ovarian cancer, and she overcame that by changing the frequency and lived until her 80s. And she had been molested, so that what ends up happening, that trauma builds to become stagnant chi within the body. And those are things that, when we fully understand this, then we can start to do the healing to change it. But until we're aware of it, it's hard for us to change it. Okay? So then going on, sustained resentment and anger can cause sickness. So this is just kind of going into some situations here. Family member or loved one with a sickness, use this prayer or affirmation. Now, when you use prayer and affirmation, don't say it with the intellect, say it with the heart. You have to get into your heart and you have to feel this. And so this is the affirmation. I love you and I release you to complete freedom and complete health in whatever way is best. Why do you do this? Because remember, if you were trying to get somebody to do something and you're trying to force it, even if they know it's good for them, they're still in that program. They're still in this area of they get it on an intellectual level, but the program is still running, and it's hard for them to create the change. So if you're saying on the surface, or if you're even praying, I want you to be healthy and bring that in, they're not going to receive it because they're not ready. So, and any type of attempt to try to tell them or even pray for them to change, they're going to be resistant to that because they're not ready. It's almost like they're almost going to get pissed off a little bit. So when you say I love you and I release you to complete freedom, you're saying I release you to go on your soul's path of discovery, because we all have a soul's path of discovery. And think about this. Remember when friends and family or your parents told you something and you knew it was for your own good, but it just used to piss you off? I know you guys can all relate to that. And you thought your parents were nagging you or your friends were nagging you and leave you alone. It would just make you internally angry. You may not have said something, but it was still there. And so when you say I love you and I release you to complete freedom and complete health in whatever way is best, you're saying I release you to your soul path. And what ends up happening is that attachment to them releases, and then they're able to go into their soul attachment. So what ends up happening is these cords that we have, whether we're doing it maliciously or not, or we're doing it out of love or spite, these cords that are attached, people feel that. And because they feel it, they're resistant to it. Remember, there's resistance or flow. In other words, resistance, pushing against, or you can allow the universe to work through you and stuff like that. So when you release them, it allows them to go into their divine plan. It allows you to go into your divine plan so that you can live your life to the fullest. So sickness can be stagnant chi or energy that is not moving. And this is because you or your loved one is not moving on from the energy that has caused it. So the Louise Hay story, she finally realized what was causing it, and she started working on that so she could release all the resentment and anger and hurt and trauma that was there so that she could heal. She could allow the energy of chi to go into the body, because remember, chi is life force energy. So if there's stagnant chi, then that would mean that life is stagnant. It's not moving. The energy of life is not moving, that provides you with the energy to live. And that's important to understand. Sometimes they're not able to see what is going on with us, so we as individuals use this. So in other words, so if we're working on ourselves and we don't know what's going on, we can't figure out why it's not working, use this affirmation. I love myself and I forgive myself and others, and I release whoever or whatever I am holding on to. I lose it, let go, let the highest good be done. Remember, if you lose it and let go, if it's of your divine plan, you really can't lose it. You're just letting it go, and if whatever is of a divine plan will always come back. You're just releasing it so you can let the energy flow the way it should be. So, and that's important to understand. So then going on, this is another scenario, fighting or broke up with former lover or spouse. That's all happened to us. We've all had our heart broken at some point in time. So if you are still attached or have resentment towards a former lover or spouse, or even a friend or a loved one that you feel that's hurt you, say this: I lose you and I let you go. All that has happened between us is released now and forever. I free you to your highest good. And remember, we can't lose it if it's of our divineness. However, you're releasing it and you're saying, I love you so much that I'm going to allow you to live your life. See, we have a misconception in this world. We have a misconception that love means attachment. And love doesn't mean attachment. Love means I'm going to allow you to be who you need to be. And I love you so much that I'm going to let you fall into the hands of God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, so that you can live your life to the fullest. And that's what love is actually all about. And we have a misunderstanding. We have a codependent understanding of love. And so that's why you say, I lose you and let go. All that has happened between us is released now and forever, because you're saying, I'm not going to control you anymore. I'm allowing you to go into the flow of your soul. And honestly, that's what we have to honor. We have to honor the flow of our soul more than we honor other things. So go out there and live for your soul, and your relationships with other people will get enriched. Promise you. So, and you say, if you have had several lovers and you are not sure which person, in other words, you're not sure which person is hurt, that the hurt is from, you can say this. So in other words, I have all these lovers and I've been hurt by them. I'm not sure who to release so I can open myself up to other potentials. You could say this: all who I have been romantic with, I fully and freely release you. I lose you and let you go. All that has happened between us is released now and forever. I free you to your highest good. What an amazing thing. So remember, we repeat all these things and these pains from these people that have hurt us in the past. And we relive this resentment over and over and over and over again. Why not release them? Release them and release yourself, so that you can move on and have another great an actual relationship with somebody that loves and appreciates you. Those other people, they didn't love and appreciate you. Were they a horrible person? They just didn't know who they were as a person. So it was hard for them to understand what to do, because maybe they didn't fully understand love, or you weren't the person that resonated with them. But when you release yourself and them, you give them and you permission, and you say to the universe, yes, now they're ready. Now they're ready for somebody to come into their life that fully appreciates them, that fully loves them, and fully in sync with them. And that's one of the things that this is all about. So you say, all who I have been romantic with, I fully and freely release you. I lose you. I let go. All that has happened between us is released now and forever. Please do this, because then all this tension, see what ends up happening is resentment and anger and all this kind of stuff is like a tension in the body, and it's like constricting inside of you. And we're cells within a greater body of the universe. And so if we're not moving correctly, then we're stagnant energy within the body of the universe. And so the same thing happens in us. Stagnant energy doesn't move, stagnant cells don't move. And guess what they call that? They call that cancer. Cells that are not communicating or flowing correctly. So those are things that we want to make sure that we resolve and move on with. So your mind can be set on one idea and not open to all possibilities. So if you're looking for new love, you're looking for a new job or a career, just need a change, what in the past are you holding on to? What are you so, if you need to make a leap of faith, what are you so afraid of? You may be afraid that, I'm going to fail, or I'm going to lose everything, or everything I've worked on, I'm going to lose. But the truth is, remember, if it's in your divine plan, you can't lose it. This isn't just people or souls. This is your soul's path. So, you may lose money. Henry Ford said once, and they said, well, you have all this money. What if you lost it all? I said, no problem. I'll have it back in 2 years. Why? It was a part of his soul path, and B, he already understood the frequency of how to get it. He already understood of how the steps to do to be successful where he was at. And so if you are already a level of success and you go out and try something, you'll get it back. Yeah, you may have hard times. Yes, you need to do a little bit of discernment, and sometimes you may need a little bit of prepare. You're not going to just walk out and say, I'm going to be a doctor. If you want to be a doctor, you have to go to school. All those kind of things. And there is a natural law called the law of gestation, meaning it prepares you for whatever it is you're working towards. But really what it comes down to is you have to take that first step towards that in order to create the momentum and the energy to actually move in that direction. And that's where people get hung up. They think that all this is magical. And yeah, the energy and the momentum of the universe works towards action and intention. And when you start to work towards that, it starts to unfold. And because you've said, I want it to be of my divine plan, new things come in that you didn't even think of because you were at this limited perspective. And so what you would only be stuck on this one sense of things, you want to be able to allow the divine plan to flow to you and let go of your past and let go of your ideas of what the future has to be and not be so dogmatic in it. And then it'll start coming into your soul's path. So what's preventing you from moving forward? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? What is it? Is it because you're not afraid of, you're afraid of what's going to happen? You have to ask those questions yourself. What is preventing you from allowing your new future? So is it because somebody told you that's going to be hard to do? Guess what? Everything in life has work, and it's sometimes hard to do. And it starts getting easier as you do it over and over again. When I first started speaking in front of people, do you think it was easy? No, it was freaking hard. I was scared, I was terrified, I was nervous. And the first time I spoke on a camera like I'm doing right now, yeah, of course I was nervous. It's just a part of what you have to do it in order to be able to actually start allowing things to unfold, whatever that is. So setting others free means setting yourself free. If you want to be free from all types of problems in the mind and body and affairs, then emotionally you must release other people to find their good in their own way. A clear channel is then open, great good to come to all is involved. See, we have all these expectations on people. And because we have all these expectations on people, we don't see, we get disappointed because they didn't act the way we felt they should have. And because we had these expectations on people, we got our hearts broken. And so, that's one of those things where we have to let that go. So setting them free of those expectations you had for them and allows you to free yourself. So you hold the key to your freedom. You're never a slave, always the master of your reality. And that's one thing that happens is we think that this world, there's some of us that we've been programmed to think that this world is working against us, that the big bad corporations or the big mean person hurt my feelings, or this happened, or my parents didn't give me what I wanted, or the schools, this is so expensive, I can't do this. We're all set up, and all that programming in you is a frequency that, remember, whatever we put out there comes back tenfold. And if you're freaking out about gas prices all the time, if you're upset about increasing costs and stuff like that, that upset and that frequency puts out there and brings back to you. I'm not saying we don't all have it. It's something we have to work on. And so it's just one of those things. It's not a judgment. It's something that we all have to work on. And so when we do that, we start to change how our life unfolds. So release possessive people. So we've all experienced this. There's a couple things I want to say on this. So we've had possessive people that tried to control us. We've had possessive relationships, friendships, parents, whatever it is, where they freak out because you're not calling them back or you're not doing what you should be doing. And in the days of, telecommunication or forms of communication is so instantaneous. I remember the days when you had a caller ID and an answering machine that you had to rewind in order to, listen to your messages, so to speak. And now, if you don't answer your phone, people are like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "I didn't feel like answering the phone." So it's one of those things. But we have dealt with this. We've had possessive bosses. We've been possessive at times, all that kind of stuff. And I want you to understand all these attachments of all these people that we've attached to, they're there. So your problems are sometimes caused by the possessiveness and strong emotional attachment that other persons have on your life, either through their positive or negative thinking about you. And one of the things I will say to you is that don't tell everybody everything. I don't want to mean about not being authentic, because I want you to be authentic. What I'm saying is don't tell everybody about all your dreams. Keep some of that, to you. And why? Because you don't want everybody else's energy involved in your manifestation, your prayers, and the things that you're asking for. Because they'll say things in their mind, well, I don't know why they're thinking that. That's just stupid. And so, I just bought a car recently, and somebody thought it was dumb that I bought a new car because I've only had the last one for 2 years. And I'm like, well, guess what? I buy a new car every 2 years anyways. And so because their idea of buying a car is that you pay on it and you eventually don't have a car payment. My idea is I want a car so that it doesn't have any problems and has a warranty on it. So I trade it in every couple of years because I don't want to have to deal with it. I don't care about the car payment. There's always, in my mind, enough money. And so that's two different ways of looking at the world. It doesn't mean my way is wrong or their way is wrong. But what ends up happening is when you allow people into your energy, their judgment, because we're all attached on these cords, that's why you want to release in the morning and at night, so that your energy can stay just close to you and flow for you and your soul. But here's for the possessive people. So still may require action on your part. So if you're in a very possessive relationship, you can do this, but you need to make the action to either set boundaries or end the relationship. Or, boundaries might be a big one. So say this as you do that action. You fully and freely release me. You're saying this about the possessive person. You fully and freely release me. You lose me and let me go. You let go and let God's manifest in this situation. If you don't like to say God, say universe, spirit, whatever. And so why are you saying this? Because you're saying on a subconscious, energetic, intuitive, spiritual, psychic level, you're saying, you let me go. And remember, if you're meant to be there with their divine plan, you guys will come back together, but it won't be in that possessive state. And that's one of those things. You can use this on your loved ones. If you're being possessive, you can use this for anything. You just change the words a little bit. And so that's one of those things that we want to make sure that we do, because we want to keep our energy free and in balance. And so when we want other people's energy to be free and in balance, because guess what? We do this work, and when we give other people permission to shine as bright as we do, that's incredible. That's incredible. We want people to shine as much as we do. We want them to be as happy as we are. So going on, release is magnetic, and you never lose anything. I've been saying this several times. Never lose anything that is yours by divine right through the act of release. So all these things I'm talking about, you can't lose it if it belongs to you by divine right. So use this daily. This is a daily one. You can put. I actually read the story about this, where a man actually put this on a laminated card in his wallet, and he read it every day. I let go of my tense hold on persons, places, events, things. I let go what goes. I am not afraid to let go of my possessive attitude towards my dear ones or towards my possessions. For I know what I humanly release, I never lose if it's of my divine right. It is only that which I try to tensely possess that slips through my closed fingers and escapes me. And that's something, and you say that with gusto or with heart in your mind and your heart. And so, and you say that on a daily basis. And what these are, prayers and energy and intentions, they're not difficult. It has to come through the heart. And so very, very important. And so I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I want to just throw this out there. Yes, I am a holistic coach and a healer. I can do distance healing through Zoom and holistic coaching through Zoom. My website is storytellingalchemist.com or jeremymcdonald.net, either one. It's also in the description of the show. If you check out my website, there's a bunch of free stuff on there. I've got a free audio CD. If you sign up for my newsletter, there's a free meditation I send back. And then Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, I will be on my YouTube channel, and there's a link to that in the website as well. And I'll be speaking to my friend Donna Campbell, and we'll be talking about her book, Financially Fit. So lots of cool things coming. Potential of a retreat in Belize this year, potential of Machu Picchu in 2023, and of course, the 2022 Spirit Heart Cruise. So check that out, spiritheartcruise.com. Much love, everybody. Peace.